Vivek Ramaswamy, running for governor of Ohio, reportedly is already off to a big lead in the first poll for the 2024 Ohio governor Republican primary. Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. A little over a week ago, I did a video talking about Vivek Ramaswamy's interest in potentially running for governor of Ohio, including a lot of setting up staff moves and such for a campaign. Well, in today's video, we're actually going over a poll by Fabrizio Lee and Associates, who is aligned with Vivek Ramaswamy, but the poll does show very shocking results for how Vivek is standing in the state of Ohio. Even before launching his widely anticipated Ohio gubernatorial bid, former biotech entrepreneur and 2024 presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy already enjoys an enormous lead over many of his prospective primary opponents, according to a new survey of Republican primary voters conducted by longtime Trump polling firm Fabrizio Lee and Associates. Ramaswamy, who recently parted ways with the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, which he was slated to lead with Elon Musk, has the support of more than half of the Buckeye State GOP primary voters in a gubernatorial matchup against potential opponents Dave Yost, Robert Sprague, and Jeremiah Workman, according to the poll. The general election for a term-limited Republican Governor Mike DeWine's seat is in 2026, the upcoming midterm elections. Quote, though not as well known as the president or vice president, Vivek Ramaswamy enjoys a very strong image with these voters, the firm's pollster wrote in a January 28th polling memo shared with the National Review. Quote, a 65% majority have a favorable opinion of him, including 47% with a very favorable opinion. Conversely, only 9% view him unfavorably, Axios first reported on the polling memo. And I do have the polling memo in another tab that I'm going to go to after I finish reading this. Ramaswamy has been teasing a gubernatorial run for months now, and a source familiar with the matter confirms to NR that the Cincinnati native is expected to formally launch his gubernatorial run sometime in February. To call it a groundswell of people asking me to do this would be an understatement, and I have to give it consideration, Ramaswamy told the National Review in Ohio back in October. In a sign of how quickly things are heating up behind the scenes, Ramaswamy recently hired a host of operatives from Vice President J.D. Vance's political orbit to help run his still unannounced 2026 gubernatorial campaign. And I did a video on this topic about Vance's campaign, people helping Vivek, in another video if you want to go check that one out. So the memo itself reads like this. It goes over a few different parts of voting and such and different questions. Instead of reading word for word on this, I'm going to go by the charts because this is where the most interesting parts are. First, it asks the favorability and unfavorability of President Trump and Vice President Vance, and it finds in this Republican poll, Donald Trump has a favorable rating of 91%, unfavorable of 7%. J.D. Vance has the same. For the purpose of this video, it now goes into the favorable and unfavorable of Vivek Ramaswamy, and who is viewed as his top challenger in the primary, Dave Yost. I believe he's the Attorney General of Ohio. Vivek Ramaswamy is found to have a favorability rating of 65% and unfavorable of 9%. Obviously a lot less well known than the president and vice president. 15% have never heard of him and 11% have no opinion, compared to Trump, who 0% have never heard of, that makes sense, and no opinion is 2%. Whereas Vance is 2% no opinion and 1% never heard of. Dave Yost suffers from another similar problem to Vivek, but even worse, where he is 51% favorable, 10% unfavorable, though he has 23% no opinion and 16% never heard of. So Yost seems to be the less known of the two when it comes to Vivek versus Yost. And yes, this is a Vivek, technically Vivek-sponsored poll, so you do have to take that into account when reading this information, but it does show a typical situation in a lot of Republican and Democratic primaries, which is the candidates are not all too well known compared to the national figures of the party. Into the really interesting part now of this poll is in the Republican primary election for governor, if it was held today, which of the following candidates would you vote for? All of the registered voters has Vivek Ramaswamy at 52%. The second place is Dave Yost at 18%. Robert Sprague comes in third with 2%. And Jeremiah Workman comes in fourth with 1%, with 27% still undecided. These are very big numbers and very strong numbers from Vivek Ramaswamy, obviously, assuming he got every single percent of the vote and did not lose any support, he would win the Ohio governor primary by over 50%. He would have it. That would be the end of discussion. Now, obviously, it's not always a perfect science, and Republican primaries typically get a lot less voters turning out than a general election, but still, these are very good numbers early on for Vivek, who is still not technically announced his run, but that is very good news for Ramaswamy. Among strong Trump approvers, Vivek gets 61%, Yost gets 15%. Trump supports Vivek Ramaswamy. That means if Trump were to endorse Vivek Ramaswamy in this race, Vivek's numbers would then go up to 78%. Yost would still stay at 9%. So really, Vivek is off to a good start and good standing when it comes to this poll. And if Trump were to endorse him, that would also even make things even better for Vivek. I believe, let's see, I'm looking for anything on the margin of error. Here's methodology. Statement: Fabrizio Lee and Associates conducted the survey of 600 voters in Ohio who are likely to participate in the 2026 Republican primary between January 26th and 27th. In the margin of error is an interval of plus or minus 4%. So Vivek is leading obviously well within the margin of error. As for the key demographics, we have 53-47 for male over female. We have 92% white, 1% Latino, 1% Asian, 1% other, and 3% refuse to answer. Party affiliation, 78% Republican, 15% independent, 4% Democrat, 1 other, 1 don't know. So this is a very interesting poll. Actually, I am curious to see this. 18 to 44 was 16%, 45-54, 14%, 55-64, 25%, and 65-74, 27%. So this poll is obviously very strong news for Vivek Ramaswamy, and is a good starting place for him. Now, if you have not seen my other video, just giving you a quick recap, the 2026 governor election in Ohio is open because Republican Governor of Ohio, Mike DeWine, is term limited by Ohio's constitution and cannot run for a consecutive third term in office. And right now, there are 3 declared candidates: Heather Hill, Robert Sprague, and Dave Yost. And right now, the announcement pending for Vivek Ramaswamy, though all inclinations are in the right direction, that Vivek Ramaswamy is going to be running for this race. And upon entering, despite Dave Yost being the Attorney General of Ohio, Vivek clearly has the higher name recognition of that poll, is to be believed, and would be viewed as likely the frontrunner in the state. There's also the Secretary of State, Frank LaRose, who did run for Senate in 2024. He has publicly expressed interest in running as well, though if Vivek's poll numbers continue to be this high, I'm not sure any challenger in a split field of 4 or 5 people really have a chance at taking down Ramaswamy. As for the history of the Ohio governor's races itself, on the Democratic side of things, actually, first, before I get to that, there is one declared candidate, Amy Acton, and there's publicly expressed interest candidates are Tim Ryan and Chris Redfern. So there could be a scenario where Sherrod Brown, the former U.S. Senator, maybe decides to run for the Senate race that's up in 2026. Tim Ryan runs for the governor's race. The Democrats kind of putting up their top 2 candidates in Ohio to try and win their respective races. Even still, though, the early predictions for 270 to win and Cook Political Report have the race listed as likely Republican. So let's look at the past governor's races in the state of Ohio just to give you a quick idea. DeWine won the Ohio's governor race in 2022 by 25 points. That was the most recent one after DeWine won his second term. If you want to go back to 2018, when DeWine was first elected, he did defeat his Democratic opponent by 3.7%. 2018 was the first midterm after Trump was elected president, and it was a very strong Democratic wave year. So 2026 does fit the same parameters of being the midterm election after Trump has served as president for 2 years. So maybe that's more of an inclination than the 25-point win than what 2022 was. But nevertheless, DeWine did win here by 3.7. Lean margin, the 25.1 in 2022 would be a safe margin. So in the middle would kind of be a likely margin. Looking at the governor's map in 2026, right now there's 36 governor's races up. I would start Ohio as likely Republican as well. Likely Republican means the margin of victory would fall somewhere between 5% and 15%. And that's where I would have it starting out for now. I think Vivek would probably win by around 13 to 14%, I would say, depending on the Democrat that's nominated. I think Tim Ryan is probably going to be the strongest Democratic opponent if he does run, but I'm still very confident Vivek or any Republican would win this race. But these numbers are very, very fascinating, And even though we're only about a month into 2025, we're starting to see the momentum for 2026 in the midterm elections slowly starting to pick up as the Trump administration is taking form. Things are starting to get done. Trump's cabinet's starting to become filled, and things are starting to get rolling a little bit. So I want to do this video. I thought this was very, very interesting, and what Vivek's future is looking like in terms of being the governor of Ohio. It's looking very strong for Vivek Ramaswamy at this point to potentially win the Republican primary for the governorship in Ohio. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to give it a like, click subscribe, and to share with all your friends and family. And keep coming back because I'll be posting a video every single day going forward, so make sure you come back and watch those. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in a future video. That will do it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please remember to give it a like. And if you really liked it, please remember to click the subscribe button. And make sure you turn post notifications on so you always get notified when I post a new video. That way you never miss one. Also, please remember to share this video with your friends and family if you really, really, really like the video. And remember to stay tuned because I'll be posting at least one video every single day leading up until Election Day. So I'd really appreciate it if you keep coming back and watching those videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in a future video.